Okay, hello. Normally, I do not do the videos at this time, but uh, the situation with Trump and the Republican National Convention um, has been bothering me. And, some people watching, may think that, I'm a far liberal left. And just so you know, I vote for the person. I voted for Reagan when he was in office both times. Of course, generally I vote Democratic, but the issue here is that we have more to worry about than just the way that Trump has essentially torn all of the norms out of the Republican Party. The Republican National Convention, the RNC, half of the speakers that they have lined up are his family, his sons, daughter, spouse. That is not normal. You have to think about what is happening here. He, number one, they're officially, officially, they have taken away all of the platform. They said essentially there is no platform of the Republican National Convention. It is just Trump. And what does that mean? What is what does that tell our country? What it tells our country is that it is seriously heading towards a fascist regime, because you can't have one person at the top who decides and dictates everything. There has to be a platform. Obviously, the Democratic platform will disagree with lots of stuff in the Republican platform. But when there is no Republican platform other than Trump getting up there and doing his normal lies, we have a lot to worry about. And when the people who are speaking, and again, we don't even have to get into all the lies and all the misrepresentations and everything that they're all going to do. We have to concentrate on the fact that essentially the only speakers, other than three or four other people that are going to be at this convention, are his family members. When George Washington, who was the first president of the United States, they wanted him to continue on and to give the presidency to his family after he was done. And he specifically said no. He didn't want that because he didn't want the republic to be like a kingdom. He wanted the elections to go forward, and he wanted it to go forward through normal electoral processes. And so when Trump gets up there and he, jokingly or not, says that he's going to stay for 12 years, or, he'll see how the elections are before he decides that he's going to step down. That's not how democracy works. It's not up to him to decide whether or not the election was fair, or that he feels that it was fair or not. It's not up to him. There's no law anywhere that says that the sitting president, the incumbent, needs to agree with the outcome of the election before he or she leaves office. No, it doesn't work like that. The people will speak, and after they speak, the new president, and possibly the same one, will stay in office or will be replaced with a new president. And that is how democracy works. In fact, one of the greatest elements of democracy is the voluntary relinquishment of power and the transfer of power to someone else. That is how you tell that it's a real democracy. And so when Trump talks about how he wants a do-over for 4 years because he wasn't treated fairly, And he jokes about how he's going to be in office for another 12 years. That is the last thing from being funny. All of the stuff that is being done here is denigrating our democracy. And I, for one, am very, very afraid that the, the culmination of everything that he is doing and has done, um, if he's in office another 4 years, who knows what will happen? Um, with the elections, we all know that he's throwing out these ridiculous lines that there's voter fraud and massive voter fraud, and we all know that it's him trying to set up to try to have an excuse why the election was not fair. Okay, and again, him throwing out these unsubstantiated allegations, and trying to set up why he's going to later state that it was not fair, um, is is not relevant to the vote being done, being counted, and whoever wins, wins. And even if, as he puts it, we won't know who won for weeks or months or forever, whatever it is, if on the day that the new president is supposed to take power, there's still a dispute, then the Speaker of the House becomes the interim president. So no matter how you look at it, if there's not a win by Trump, then he will be out of office. And if he decides that he's going to just, throw the Constitution out the window and not abide by the law, then the law will come in and will force him out. It will force him out. So whether he's doing all this because he's afraid of being indicted by multiple governmental entities the moment he's out of power and doesn't want to spend the rest of his life going, back and forth to trial and possibly getting convicted, is irrelevant. One of the greatest points of democracy that we have is voting. And, a lot of times people think, well, what difference is it going to make that they go to the polls and that they mark, who they want to become president or senators or congressmen or whoever? Um, well, it is an extremely powerful action that is being taken by going and doing the voting. It's not just your civic duty. I mean, think about when they impeached Trump, all the work that had to be done, and all the roadblocks that were up at the Senate, how they wouldn't let evidence in, and how McConnell stopped everything. I mean, think about that. But what do we have to do to get someone out of office? What do we have to do? All we have to do is go vote. We the people, have the power. We have the power to go and vote and change who is in office. If we don't like who's in office, we don't have to be elected to office ourselves. We don't have to spend 20 years in politics. We don't have to have power. We have to be a U.S. citizen and go to the polls and vote. And if we do it by absentee ballot, all we have to do is mark in the circles, mark in the boxes, and go and vote. And if everybody votes, and if everybody who has an opinion votes, then that is democracy in action. And if Trump decides he's not going to abide by it, well, democracy in action will continue and he'll be escorted out of the White House. That's how it is. So the reason I make this plea to vote, and the reason I'm making this video, is because I am very worried about the RNC. I've never in my whole life seen where they just threw out the whole platform and just said it's just going to be Trump, and then all of his family are going to be speaking about how great and wonderful he is and how everything he did was perfect. Even the Secretary of State Pompeo, he should not be speaking. And uh, everything that has been normal in the past is not normal in this one. And we cannot just take the fact that we can't stand watching it because it's just a bunch of lies and it's not real. Um, we have to take action. We have to take action against what is clearly turning into a fascist government. I mean, you don't see hardly any of the Republican congressional people or the senators standing up against Trump. I mean, thank the Lord that 24 Republicans decided to vote to fund the post office, whether or not McConnell ever brings it up for a vote, and whether or not it ends up, being vetoed by the president is one thing. But 24, 2 dozen Republicans crossed the aisle and voted, and good for them. Good for them. Not just because they voted for something the Democrats wanted, because they voted for democracy. That's what they voted for. All this shenanigans that's going on with the Postmaster General, we all know what's going on. He's trying to make it harder to vote. And no matter how much he sits in front of Congress, no matter how much he swears up and down that that's not what he's doing, we know that's what he's doing. So Nancy Pelosi took the matters in her hand and put it up for a vote, and 25 billion to go fund the post office. So, moral of this story: um, don't just idly sit by while the RNC drills into our mind and shows that fascism is coming if Trump stays. Um, Go and vote. Get your U.S. citizen friends, uncles, aunts, teachers, whatever, and everybody go and vote like this democracy depended on it. Okay, that's it for now. Thank you.